Hello and welcome back to the Proactive Investors New York studio. I'm Christine Corrado. With me in studio today is Cory Glick from Reliable Secure Power Systems. Cory, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Just tell us a bit about your relationship with Capstone Turbine, a microturbine company that we follow right now.
So RSP Systems stands for Reliable Secure Power Systems. We're the exclusive distributor for Capstone microturbines in the New York and Connecticut area. And we provide design services, we sell the equipment, we commission and service it for the life of the equipment.
I want to talk about something that happened this past weekend. New York experienced quite a blackout for around 5 hours. Capstone's microturbines still continued to run. Just paint a picture for me about what happened during that blackout to start off with.
So we monitor all of our equipment 24/7, 8,760 hours a year. And we'll get fault notifications and we know what's going on with the piece of equipment. In certain circumstances, when the electrical grid is somewhat unstable, we'll get alarms, we'll get pre-alarms and notifications. So approximately 6:15 or so on Saturday night, we started to get an unusually large amount of faults detected, all pretty much tying to the electrical grid. And by about 7:15, we knew we had a major event on our hands. And we were able to remotely monitor and watch our equipment in this region do what it's supposed to do, which is essentially continue running as the blackout occurs, disconnect from the utility, and provide backup power to panels that were dedicated to serve certain loads in buildings.
Can you kind of, for investors new to the story, kind of walk through how the turbines work and how they were able to stay on during this crazy blackout?
Great. So our equipment can be ordered as a grid connect only unit, which means we're providing cogeneration, electricity, and thermal energy to a building, and we're saving them money whenever it's running, which is virtually 24/7. You also have the ability to upgrade to what's called a dual mode unit, or a unit that can stand alone. So the installation on the electrical side is a little bit different, and what you're able to do is put in an emergency panel or a backup panel, depending on the DOB code requirements in the area. It's either voluntary backup power or emergency backup power that picks up life safety. Anyway, our equipment was running in a number of hotels and other buildings in the area, and those that were set up for standalone dual mode action sensed the grid was out, and in under 10 seconds, we were able to transition and provide power to whatever was on the backup panels in these facilities.
Well, this blackout affected more than 70,000 customers of Con Edison. What was the feedback like from Capstone's customers during this blackout?
Pretty good. You know, the service business is somewhat brutal. You know, you don't get a lot of thank you calls, but we were able to watch the equipment work the way it was supposed to on the sites, and we were quite proud. In fact, early in the week, Tuesday, we were out visiting clients, walking in on them, meeting with the chief engineers and building managers to make sure that what we saw was what they experienced, and then to get feedback and talk about, you know, how do we do, what could we add to this panel, because in most of the buildings they have some excess capability. And depending on the code, whether we're able to pick up life safety or not, there's other features of a building that they might not even realize they needed operating in a grid outage. So we got some great feedback from those customers that had the backup capability. I've gotten calls from other customers that had our equipment that was designed for grid connect only, and they're now getting quotes to upgrade and be able to allow our equipment to provide backup power.
That would be an extended service that you have, because before they had only the service where it didn't necessarily turn on because they didn't pay for that service.
And they didn't design it into the system. They didn't buy that accessory or do the electrical infrastructure the way it needs to be done. But it's a relatively easy upgrade to turn a unit into standalone or dual mode from the basic grid connect only unit. And what is common on all these units is that they're fed by pipeline natural gas, which continued to operate throughout this outage as it has with every other outage that we've experienced in the last 16 years in this region.
So yeah, how important is pipeline natural gas to the product?
Yeah, critical. Great question. Without natural gas, we couldn't run 24/7. Without reliable natural gas, we couldn't provide backup power. It's the most reliable fuel source there is for running turbines or any backup generators, whether it's mine or some other brand. And we're trying to get the city to approve natural gas for emergency power in buildings other than R2. So it's currently approved for use in an R2 building, which is a residential building above 125 feet. You can use our turbine only for backup power. And it really has to do with the natural gas. You can run, again, other equipment on natural gas in an emergency mode as well. But currently we're restricted to R2 buildings. In other buildings, such as some major hospitals that we have, there are units in those buildings as well, and they're classified as a voluntary backup. So you'll have your traditional reciprocating generators with a belly tank of oil or a huge storage tank in the basement. And as we know in Sandy, those aren't that reliable. The fuel source is there. You can argue it's on site, but natural gas has historically been available as well. And during Sandy, we ran some sites for 10 days with no power and natural gas continuing to flow.
Well, what do you kind of learn from this? How does this kind of move the business further? What did you learn from this blackout?
What we learned is that everything electrical and mechanical can break. It can wear out over time. And Con Ed has a great infrastructure in place. They've got safeties that worked in this case because they were able to isolate this event to a portion of Manhattan. But what we learned is not to be complacent, not to think that everything's okay, and not to put all your eggs in one basket. As good as the electrical distribution system is, it's taxed. There's all kinds of programs in place to alleviate loads, electrical loads in certain pockets, specifically in the 5 boroughs, because there's a lot of congestion and it's very difficult to get the electricity into certain pockets in the city. And again, what we learned was clear that no city as good as New York is, and I think it's the best city in the world,
Agreed.
Is able to avoid things that break.
Well, I'm glad everything turned out all right. Cory, thank you so much for your time today.
Great. It was a pleasure being here. I appreciate your time.